Checking over your vehicle before you hit the trails or go on a touring trip is absolutely imperative. Now today, I'm actually doing a vehicle check on my race car before I go out racing on the weekend. And I thought this is going to be a brilliant opportunity to share with you what I look for. So you might be looking at this and thinking, I don't have a race car and I don't have an 80 Series Land Cruiser. That doesn't matter. The tips and tricks I'm going to give you in this video are going to help you. And it doesn't matter if you've got a Land Rover, it doesn't matter if your vehicle's independent suspension like a Y62 or a Ranger. All of this information is going to help you out. What I do with this race car in 2 hours is equivalent to what you guys would do on a 2-week touring trip. So there's a lot that can be learnt by this vehicle. I'm going to make sure that I keep these tips really simple. So it doesn't matter if you don't know anything about mechanics or cars, you're still going to be able to perform these checks with confidence. So we've got the vehicle up on the hoist and my mate Paul is giving us a hand. He's already started on a few jobs we noticed. The first thing I'm going to do is take a nice, slow visual inspection of the vehicle. What am I looking for? I'm looking for oil leaks. I'm looking for rubber bushes that might be fractured or starting to look like they're worn out. And I just want to get familiar with all of the components of the vehicle as I do the visual inspection. I'm looking for points where bolts might be loose, like items like this, really critical high load bolts in the suspension. I'm looking to see if there's any rub marks or witness marks that show me that this has been moving and come loose. When it comes to checking out your vehicle, you're going to have rubber bushes in many of the components, and depending on the design of the suspension, those bushes can be in different places, but they're usually pretty easy to find. They're going to be in something like a big arm like this that comes to a bolt. You're going to find where that bolt and that arm join with the other component, you're going to have a bush in there. So I can just look up inside here, get my pry bar and pry that and see the condition of that bush. When they're flogged out, you'll know. You'll see that the rubber's all cracked, it's got splits in it, and when you do this, everything's loose and worn out, and it becomes quite obvious. Now, you're not going to be able to check the bushes by hand. You just don't have the strength. That's why we use a pry bar, or if you don't have a pry bar, grab a big flat blade screwdriver or some other lever bar, and you just want to do that check like this. Now I'm having a look at my universal joints. So these are on the tail shaft, this component here, which is where the drive goes from the gearbox or transfer case down to the differential. And what I'm looking for, by wiggling them, I'm looking for play in what we call the yoke or the cross yoke up in there. And I'm just wiggling it around, looking for any issues. I can't see anything. It does look a little bit dry, so I am going to put a squirt of grease on there. Now, just a warning, when you play with this part here, which is a slip joint, it goes shorter and longer depending on what your suspension's doing. You'll always feel a little bit of play in that, and that's okay. I've just found a crack in the chassis. Now, on this vehicle, the way I treat it, that's not a surprise. And it does happen on your sort of vehicles as well, especially if you're a heavily loaded vehicle and do a lot of corrugation work or flex work when you're off-road. So have a good look at points on the chassis, but come in and you can see where this chassis is cracking. In this case, the crack has started behind this bracket where it was welded to the chassis, and it's worked its way up and it's running up through here. So I'm going to probably look at maybe manufacturing up a plate and welding that into this section to strengthen that section of the chassis. But these are the sort of things you're looking for. Now, I'd be amazed if you found something like this on your vehicle, but you want to know if it's there, don't you? By following these little tips and tricks, you're going to be able to keep your vehicle in good working order. Now, here's the last tip I want to leave you with. By doing these tips and following this procedure on a regular basis, you're going to become familiar with what your vehicle looks like when it's in good running order. And you know what that's going to mean? When something's going astray, whether it be an oil leak or a bolt coming loose or a rubber bush being worn out, you're going to pick it up and you're going to be able to recognize it. All right guys, I've got to finish getting the race car ready so that we can go out and have a bit of fun. But I hope that's helped you. Catch you later guys. I'm MadMatt. Stay safe on the trails.